Ruthless Compassion is a podcast that shows you how to become fiercely kind. I'm the host, Dr. Marcia Sirota, and in each episode, I get into it with experts and regular folks about the things that get in the way of what we want. Things like addiction and mental health, isolation and loneliness, difficult family and work relationships, and the importance of self-care. I want to help you overcome the obstacles to living your best life, and I want to inspire you to become a powerful kindness warrior. Amie Valpone, HHC, AADP, is a culinary nutritionist, professional recipe developer, food photographer, celebrity chef and writer specializing in simple, clean eating recipes. She has continuing education certifications from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and Columbia University, as well as the Drugless Practitioners of America. Her new cookbook, Eating Clean, the 21-Day Plan to Detox, Fight Inflammation, and Reset Your Body, is on sale now. After healing herself through a series of life-changing diagnoses early in her professional career, Amie was forced to change the way she lives, eats, and works. Today, her sole desire is to help you and your body feel as amazing as possible through various simple yet life-altering changes to your nutrition and lifestyle habits. Welcome, Amie Valpone, to the Ruthless Compassion Show. Welcome, Amie Valpone, to the Ruthless Compassion podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. Just like I always ask my guests on the show, I'm very interested to know what you do and how you got to doing what you're doing.
Of course. So let's see. It all started about 10 years ago. I was in my early 20s, and I was working at Vogue magazine here in Manhattan, and my legs started swelling up with about 40 pounds of fluid every day. And no one knew what was wrong with me. And I went to tons of doctors, and they found that my white blood cells were really low. And so they literally were so shocked at the number of my low white blood cells. It was about 1.1, when normal, as we know, is about 4.0. And so they rushed me to a cancer center and gave me a bone marrow biopsy and thought I had leukemia. And it turns out leukemia was negative. But for the next 10 years, I literally went through everything you can imagine, from C. diff colitis and being given 24 hours to live, to hypothyroidism, candida, Epstein-Barr, leaky gut, fibromyalgia. I mean, the list, myositis, the list goes on and on and on, SIBO. And I kept getting worse and worse, and they just kept giving me antibiotics and pharmaceutical drugs. And at the age of about 24, I said to myself, I'm on disability for my job. And I was laying there with morphine dripping into me. And I said, if I survive, I'm going to actually quit my job and dedicate the rest of my life to helping people. And so that's what I did. And I've been doing it now for the last 6 years. And it's been incredible. So I'm the author of thehealthyapple.com, which is a wellness, mind-body, functional integrated medicine website with all recipes, all anti-inflammatory, so no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no refined sugar, no corn, no eggs, very, very whole, clean foods, no all-purpose flours, no xanthan gums, keeping everything very simple, and also talking about my story and how I've been healing and the different modalities that I've been doing to heal my body from all these ailments. And then I'm also a celebrity chef and nutritionist, and I just wrote a cookbook that came out in March called Eating Clean, the 21-Day Plan to Detox, Fight Inflammation, and Reset Your Body. So that's a little bit about me. My story is very long and complicated, so to wrap it up in a few minutes can be intense.
What I take away from your story is that you've overcome quite a few obstacles, and it was really your own pain and suffering that motivated you to move in this direction.
Oh, completely, 110%. And, I've realized that just recently, as I've come out of illness, it's the pain, you can't fight against pain. You have to kind of surrender and ease into it. And I really just learned how to work with my body and how to get my body working with me and for me instead of against me. And when I was on these cocktails of drugs, no one knew the answers. Now, I was at Mayo Clinic. I was getting another bone and marrow biopsy out there. I went to over 500 doctors, 500 in 10 years. And I've had everything you can even imagine: colonoscopies, endoscopies, muscle biopsies, bone marrow biopsies, CAT scans, MRIs. I mean, you name it, they did it, and they found nothing. And
wow.
that's when I went back to school, got my degree in integrative nutrition, and said, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to help people because I know I'm not crazy, and the doctors were telling me I was crazy. So that's when I started the healthyapple.com, and I was like, I'm going to inspire other people to take charge of their health and really do this and show them that it's possible.
It's interesting how when you have an unusual disorder and the traditional medical practitioners don't believe you because it doesn't fit into the stories that they know, you're almost dismissed as a nut, or you are dismissed as a nut.
Completely. I'll never forget the day before I went on disability for my job. My whole corporate job thought I was crazy. I mean, my nickname was Sick Girl, literally. And because every day I was running out to vascular surgeons, they were giving me water pills, I was going to liver doctors. My liver enzymes were like in the 300s, and normal, as we know, is like, 30-something or 40-something? I mean, I can't even tell you what, my body was in a state of shock and toxicity. And that's when I was literally like, I need to learn how to detox. But I'd always thought detox was, starving yourself on a juice cleanse, which, we read about in magazines. And I realized that that's not detox at all. That's a cleanse. And what I really needed was to give my body like a fresh overhaul and to take all the bad junk out, the parasites, the pathogens, the bad bacteria, all these things that were clogged up in my lymph, in my whole body. And no one was talking about that. No one talked to me about lymphatic drainage. No one talked to me about candida. No one talked to me about any of this stuff. They just kept popping in antibiotics and hoping for the best. And they told me not to take probiotics. I mean, it was crazy. And I was working with some of the top doctors at some of the top hospitals in the country. I mean, it was mind-blowing. But now when I look back, I realize, and as silly as this might sound, because if I heard this 10 years ago, I probably would have laughed, I started to listen to myself, and I stopped listening to everyone else. And I'm not saying that we need to self-diagnose, because you need doctors. The functional medicine doctors, integrative medicine doctors helped me tremendously. But there was a point where I had to start to say, I can no longer listen to these authorities that are telling me to do these things that it doesn't feel right to my body. I know there's a better way. And that's when I found functional integrative medicine and really started to get to the root cause.
I think that when you are suffering yourself, it's highly motivating to find an answer, isn't it?
It is. It's so funny. Everyone keeps saying to me, how did you do it? I was with a friend last night. She's like, can I just ask you one more time? How did you do it? And I was like, I have no idea. I was so numb and so zoned out. When you're in survival mode, you are just nothing gets in your way. I mean, I was like a bulldozer. It was my full-time job. And I agree, when you have pain and when you're suffering, a drug was not going to work for me. And I knew, I had this knowing. It was like this intuition that I had that was like, things are going to get better. And it took me 10 years, but the answers kept coming to me very, very slowly. The other thing I realized is no one doctor helped me. I had a team of doctors. So I had someone for my thyroid, someone for my gut, someone for my Lyme disease, someone for my polycystic ovarian syndrome and hormone imbalances. I went to an acupuncturist. I did lymphatic drainage. I did emotional release massage. I had to try all of these different things because one thing wasn't working. And one of the biggest things I think I get from my via email through my website is people say to me, I'm not getting anywhere. And I often say, if something's not working, give it 3 months and move on. Because acupuncture doesn't work for some people. And, lymphatic, all of our bodies, as you know better than I do, our bodies are all so different. And I think that's the best advice I can give someone is, you can't just stick with the same thing if you're not getting results.
For sure. Well, I think that it sounds to me that having suffered the way you've suffered and having gone through so many challenges, you must have an amazing capacity for compassion for the people that you work with because you've been there yourself. You understand the kinds of things they've been going through.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I think that's, I'm a very, very humble person, but I think that's honestly why my book did so well. I think people connected with my story. I mean, I get hundreds of emails a week just from people saying, thank you, you get it. You get it. And everyone thinks I'm crazy. And I'm like, I know. I was there. I was even just like saying to my mother a few months ago when I was having some hormonal imbalance from my Lyme. I was like, no one gets it. It's not like you can say to your girlfriends, oh, I'm having hormonal issues, I can't make it to dinner tonight. And I would say that, and they wouldn't get it. But you can say something, like some other, chronic disease, and they would understand it. Like people don't, unless you're in it and you go through it, you don't understand, and you can't expect people to understand. And that's when I had to drop the expectations. I mean, especially my girlfriends from high school who, they were off getting married, having babies, and they would be upset with me for not going and seeing their babies. And I was like, I can barely get out of bed. Like, and they didn't understand Lyme disease, and they still don't. And so I had to learn how to forgive them and forgive myself. And it's still hard because we're not nearly as close as we used to be, and I lost a lot of relationships. But the beauty is, like, the most amazing people are in my life right now, and they all get it. The most incredible women and men start coming into your life. And you have all these great girlfriends and guy friends, and you start attracting what you really are,
Mm-hmm. I suppose that when you're very ill and you're going through a lot, you can't help but be authentic. Yeah. And so either the person's going to appreciate and like you for your authentic self, or they're not going to understand you, and it's not going to work.
It's so true. It's, it's really about, for me, I didn't even understand it was like a listen. Everyone always said, oh, listen to your heart. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? Until I went through this. And then I'd come out of it, and people who didn't make me feel good about myself anymore, or people who put me down, or events that I would go to that just didn't make me happy anymore, I was like, that doesn't make me feel good. Like, why am I doing that? Why am I not listening to my heart and doing the things that make me happy? So that's when I started to focus on self-love and self-care. And I said, I'm only going to do things that make me feel good and make me happy. And I'm only going to be around people that help lift me up and who are positive and not draining. And I think that's a big thing with women. I think a lot of women that I work with, they're like, oh, my mother-in-law, my aunt, my this, my that, this girlfriend's annoying me, and there's so much cattiness. And I'm like, there comes a point in your life where you got to take care of you and put your oxygen mask on first and say to these people, I love you, but I can't have you in my life right now if you're going to be this way. Like, you're never going to get better. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Every time I do interviews, people say, that's probably one of the reasons that you got better is because you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to take these negative people out of your life, because they're literally not going to help you get to where you need to be, and they don't even see their negativity. It's kind of who they are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that when you are very ill and you're struggling with a lot of different challenges in your life, it's much easier to be ruthless and to say enough, because I think we make excuses for people, we make excuses for situations, we minimize things. When we aren't suffering acutely, maybe we're just suffering chronically and not noticing it as much, it's easier for us to tolerate things that maybe we oughtn't to tolerate. But when you're suffering the way you've been suffering, I can see how you just don't have that room, that space in your psyche and your heart and your soul to bear these other stresses. And so you say, no, I can't, because you just can't. And so it makes you able to set limits and to cut people out of your life and do things that are hard and that a lot of people don't want to do. And then you can be a wonderful example for the rest of us because of your unique position about ruthlessness and in that kind of loving, ruthless way.
It's so interesting. And so I've been in this food world for about, 7 years now. I started my blog 2009, and I just posted on my website and Instagram last week saying, there comes a point in your life where you have to listen to your heart, and I love food. I will always love food, but there's something inside of me that's saying, I need to share everything that I'm learning about how to really heal with all of you, because anyone that tells you it's all food is lying. It is not all food. You can eat all the kale that you want and you still not heal.
Mm-hmm.
The mind body, which, let me tell you, when I was 22 working at Vogue magazine, if you told me to focus on mind body and to meditate, I would have been like, lady, I don't even have time to pee. Get out of my way. And now, I mean, everything is off my calendar. Everything. My main focus is me and my body. I say no more than I say yes. I have learned to take care of myself, and I've realized that the mind, body, all the crap that we tell ourselves every day in our minds, and all these programs and everything that we have running that we're not even realizing is the stuff that's keeping us stuck. And so that's really where my next book will go, and I'm still, obviously it's going to be a cookbook, and my new website that'll be launching in a few weeks is all still going to be, the majority of it will be food, since I love food so much and love creating recipes. But I've realized it's like, there's something in my heart that's saying you need to help these people who feel lost still when they're on supplements and food. They're doing everything right, exactly where I was 3 years ago. I was doing everything right. I was eating right. I was doing every supplement. I was doing infrared saunas. I was doing lymphatic drainage. I was doing acupuncture. I was doing everything. And what happened, which now I realize was a blessing in disguise, is I was on progesterone cream because they were trying to bring back my period. And they ended up overdosing me on progesterone cream. And so I gained 70 pounds in 5 days.
Oh my
and
God.
my hair went from blonde to brown. And let me tell you, the weight is still not all off. I probably have maybe, I don't know, I don't weigh myself, maybe 15, 20 pounds still on me. But it's, it's like fluid, so it's coming off slowly. But at the time, it was the worst experience of my entire life, worse than Lyme, worse than colitis. But because of the vanity, the outside of me was completely changed. But I had to say to myself, I learned how to get my whole endocrine system pretty much shut down. And I had to learn how to do this because no doctor could really help me. They had their hands tied. And even the functional medicine doctors didn't know what to do. So that's when I had to turn to more energy medicine and really sit with myself and be like, you're going to figure this out. No one else is going to be able to help you right now. They're all going to give you ideas, but you've got to figure this out. And that's when all this mind-body set in. And it's funny because I handed my cookbook in, 2 Januaries ago. And when we handed it in, my publisher's like, you have to cut 200 pages. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't cut 200 pages. And so my agent said to me, you got to cut the mind-body chapter because I don't want you cutting any recipes. And I was like, and she goes, that'll just be for your next book. And I was like, what? Like, what is that supposed to mean? And now I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. So the point of the story is kind of twofold. Number one, everything is happening for a reason, even if you can't see it in the moment. Because, yes, my next book will be a cookbook, but will be mind-body. And the other part is, like, we have to stop looking outside of ourselves to everyone else for the answers. Yes, you have to go to doctors. Yes, you have to ask the doctors for help. I don't recommend self-diagnosing. I don't recommend starting supplements or doing anything on your own. But there comes a point where even with like acupuncture, all these different things that you're doing, you could do 70 different things and still not feel well. You've got to listen. You got to get quiet with yourself. Stop listening to what every magazine and website and everything else is trying to tell you, and see what works for you. Some people heal from being vegan. Some people heal from being paleo. Like, some people heal from juicing. I mean, everyone is so different. If you told me to juice for one day, I would probably pass out. Like, I'd never be able to handle it. So it just goes to show, like, we are all so different. So you've got to, my best advice is start listening to you, because you've got more power than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave all my power away for 10 years, 10 very expensive, exhausting, and traumatizing years. I gave my power away to these other people who I thought were going to heal me. And don't get me wrong, they helped me in so many ways, but I lost the connection with myself. I didn't even know what that was until I went to someone and they did acupuncture on me, and they said, you're not even in your body. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. They're like, no, you're gone. Like, you're not even present in your body. You're never going to heal. And at the time, I was on like 50 supplements a day. I was doing, eating organic, but I didn't even see what was right in front of me that I wasn't connecting to. And so that I felt like is a huge, huge missing piece for so many people, which I'm sure, you know as well.
For sure. I think that when you are able to listen deep within and sort out your inner wisdom from your inner critic and then be more present, then you're also able to look around you and identify who are the people in your life who are supporters. And they can be friends, they can be medical people, they can be holistic health practitioners, and also sort out who are the people who are not helpful to you that you need to separate from. Then you really are going in the right direction.
Completely. And it's hard. I think as women, men don't hold on to things. They it's like, why does that bother you? They're very single-minded, whereas we, maybe I shouldn't say single-minded, but they can let things go and they can move on. Whereas women, we feel bad, we're more emotion, we want to like make everybody happy. But what I realize, if you try to make everyone happy and you try to do everything for everybody else, your health will suffer. And that's one of the reasons I got sick. I was always trying to make sure everyone was having fun and worried about what everyone else, was doing and making sure everything was good. And it's like, you guys got to worry about yourself, focus on you.
For sure. Now, do you say you have a website and you write, do you ever consult with individuals about their health?
I do a lot of consulting one-on-one. So I do kind of all over the country, all over the world. I have clients in Dubai and London and, all over. So people dealing with chronic health issues if they can't figure it out. And so that was one thing I put in my book. I wanted to make sure the back of my book has literally every functional medicine test that I ever took, 3 full pages of it. I feel like it's worth like $100,000 just with all the doctors I went to try to figure all these tests out. But that's one of the biggest parts of my book that I really love, because people who aren't getting answers, those tests, like mold and heavy metals and the test for Lyme disease, because like Lyme disease, there's so many false negatives. So people need to know there's these 2 labs that test just for Lyme and things like that, hormonal imbalances, women that are coming to me and saying, oh, my hormones are fine, but they have all these hormonal symptoms. And I'm like, you're probably getting, the wrong blood work done. You need to get these saliva tests or, do some urine organic acids tests, things like that. So people come to me when they're not getting answers and they feel like they're hitting a wall. And I pretty much say, these are the doctors you need to see, or these are the modalities you need to try, or I suggest you to try. And give them a whole list of, tests that they should be getting and look at their blood work and kind of just walk them through, what they should be doing and then send them to a doctor.
But because of your unique experience, you obviously have so much information at your fingertips.
Oh, thank you. Well, that means so much to me. I mean, I think that experience comes from, or like knowledge comes from experience. And I think that a lot of the things that were going on in my body, doctors could not figure out because they hadn't experienced it. And, what I've heard just from so many people, even someone that just did energy work on me and did, I do a lot of emotional release massage. And this week, him and this other person I go to that does NAET on me, which is like something to help release and erase your food allergies, which has helped me a ton. They said, you are the most sensitive person I've ever worked on in my life. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like a tough cookie. I'm not sensitive. They're like, no, your body is like, they've both been doing this for 45, 50 years. And they're like, I've never had someone like you. So there's a part of me that thinks, wow, I'm like the sensitive of the sensitive. And that's why a lot of this happened to me. But I really feel like I was put here to go through all of this to help so many people who might be just as sensitive as I am, or might not even be sensitive as I am, but have these issues that no one can figure out. And it happened to me because I'm so sensitive. So I have a little bit of guidance for them. I mean, really, all I want to do is lift people up, give them inspiration, and help them just to have like a positive outlook on it. I mean, I was so low. I missed all my friends' weddings and bachelorette parties and lost all my friends. I mean, my 20s were spent in my apartment in Manhattan, pretty much in bed, running around from doctor to doctor, coffee enema to Epsom salt bath to infrared sauna to, acupuncture. I mean, my days, I was in survival mode. I couldn't even think about what I was going to eat for dinner. It was like throwing something in my mouth to just try to get through my day. And so, like we were saying before, nobody gets it until they're in it. But when you go through it and you have that experience, you can relate to other people and you kind of the symptoms I was experiencing, I see in a lot of people that come to me. And then I can give them off to doctors and, talk to the doctors and work with them and kind of work with them as a team and help them.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. I think you're right. It's your unique experience has made you able to offer so much to other people who are struggling with confusing conditions that the regular medical practitioners don't quite understand and maybe don't take seriously. And so you can take these people seriously. And I think that when you're sick, it's so painful when the people who are trying to help you don't take you seriously or don't understand what you're going through, and you feel so helpless. Whereas if somebody understands and says, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're going through, that's the beginning of healing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think I'd love to even help people who are going, like my mother, my heart goes out to my mother. I just could see pain in her every day. My father, on the other hand, I think men, I went through this for 10 years. Men hide their emotions, so I could never really, I don't know if my dad didn't really know what I was going through. He couldn't relate or what it was, but my mother would just cry and cry and cry. And she's like, I don't even know how to help you. And, when you're 20-something and you see your mother crying it's scary. Your mother doesn't even know how to help you. That's when I literally had to say, you got to put your big girl pants on, and you got to figure this out. And it helped me grow up. It made me, I had to rely on my parents, just to help me, bring me to doctors and things like that. But I also had to, I did this all myself. I had to do all the research. I paid all the bills. I navigated this whole thing. My parents, I think, were in just such shock, and it's almost like they were trying to help me. But my best advice for anyone going through something is you've got to be, it's almost like you're the CEO of your health. You have to give things out to other people. Like my mother handled all the insurance stuff. My dad, I don't even know what the heck he did. But, you have to start divvying out things. Like my sister would sometimes bring me food if I couldn't get out of bed. Like, you've got to stop feeling bad about asking for help. Because for so long, I was like, I'm fine. And my parents and my sister were like, you're not fine. Like, let us help you. And, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I need help. I need someone to come help clean my apartment. I need someone to help, give me a bath. Things like that, that you're, embarrassed about, or you don't think that, is a big deal is really important.
I like that. I like that balance of you being the CEO, but also delegating authority. So you're the one who's ultimately in charge for your health journey, but you're also able to ask for support and ask people to do the things that need to get done so that you're not burdened by them and you can focus on taking care of yourself.
Totally. Yeah. It's, and anyone that tells you it's not easy, going through something like this, you got to change your mindset. Stop talking about being sick. You're not sick. You're just going through something that's going to bring you to a place where, let me tell you, is so much above and beyond where you ever were. It's unbelievable. And if people ask me all the time in interviews, if you could go back and change anything, what would you change? And I say nothing. And people are shocked because they're like, Amie, your story is enough to make someone get nauseous. And I'm like, you're right. I have been through more than pretty much anyone that I know. But every single thing taught me something different. Did I realize at the time? No. Did I cry my eyes out every day in pain and just sadness from missing out and not being able to travel or do some of these great things or go on dates or whatever? Yeah. But now I'm this 33-year-old woman in perfect health, who is has realized my passion and calling in life, and all I want to do is help other people. And so I know it's hard to look at when you're going through it, but if you can just picture yourself and do visualization, picture yourself in your healthy clothes and in your healthy environment and feeling healthy and not having to do all this, medical stuff, you will get there. You've got to train your mind to get out of calling yourself being sick or whatever, and move on in your life so that you're drawn to that, and that's where your life leads. You've got to stay positive.
Absolutely. And on that note, on staying positive, Tell me a little bit about your cookbook so that the audience can go out and get it.
Thank you. So the book is 400 pages. It's a big book. It's over 220 recipes, all anti-inflammatory, so no gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, corn, eggs, no all-purpose flours, no xanthan gums, no caffeine, no alcohol. Very, very clean. Literally all whole foods. It's all plant-based, so no animal proteins. But if you want to add animal protein, I write in there, just make it organic and you can add it in, which is what I do. And then also in the front of the book, it's a handbook. So first it's my whole story, how I healed from 10 years of chronic illness. And then it talks about how to detox your cleaning supplies, your beauty products, and your food, because your skin is your biggest organ. So really talking to people and getting them to understand that it's not just your food, it's your lifestyle. It's the things that the parabens are in your shampoo. It's the stuff that's the mercury that's in your lipstick, different things like that are really, interacting with your blood work and, your hormones and different things like that really are not helping you heal. So that's the gist of the book. It came out in March 2016, so like 6 months ago or so, and it did really well. It's still doing really well, and I'm so grateful. And right before it came out, everyone kept saying, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" And I said, "No. Like when you go through something like that, and you put a book out, and even when I put new recipes on my website, it has nothing to do with me. It's almost like I'm just like this vehicle that had to go through all this stuff to just kind of help all these other people. So, like, I feel like my work, I'm grateful for it, and I love what I do, and I'm grateful every day. But it really, at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with getting this message out to help as many people as I can so they don't lose hope, and that's so that they realize, like, this is not some, like, crazy story that is fabricated or whatnot. Like, this is the real deal, and my blood work right now is perfect. Like my thyroid, everything, my platelets, my hemoglobin. Like, did it take a lot of time and money and trauma and exhaustion? Yeah. Would I rather spend that money, going to my friends' weddings? Yeah. But I had to learn, like, if I was going to heal, I'm not going out to dinner, drinking and spending money on vacations. I'm spending my money on healing myself. And that's really was one of the hardest things to do in your 20s when everyone else is out having fun,
But you spend your money healing yourself, and then you learned how to be there for others. So it was a win-win.
Exactly. And now I look back at it and I'm like, well, I would never spend money on any of those crazy things. Like, my money first and foremost goes to my organic food and all of my energy work and my healing modality. Like, that's where all my money goes. And obviously, Manhattan rent and all of that. But, yeah, it's not about the vacations and the clothes. 10 years ago when I was working at Vogue magazine, it was all about vacations and clothes and all that kind of stuff. And none of that even, like, is fun for me. Like, don't get me wrong. I go on vacations and buy clothes, but there's such a deeper level of what life is all about.
Mm-hmm. Just before we go, just remind us again of the name of your book and where we can find you online.
Sure. So my website is thehealthyapple.com. And my website is, it's a blog, so it's just thehealthyapple.com. But my book is Eating Clean, the 21-Day Plan to Detox, Fight Inflammation, and Reset Your Body. And it's in stores nationwide, so it's in Whole Foods, Barnes & Noble, Costco, Sam's Club. Amazon.com is probably the easiest and cheapest place to get it. But, yeah, there's a link to it on my website. And, I hope from what I've heard, everyone has been very, very pleased with it and inspired and all of that. So I hope it continues to uplift and inspire other people to take charge of their health.
I'm sure it will. And just before we go now, I like to ask all my guests for a call to action for the listeners. What would be yours?
My call to action. My call to action is to start listening to yourself. And I know some of you are rolling your eyes because I would have rolled my eyes probably 3 years ago. I would have been like, tell me the supplement to take, tell me what to do, tell me who to go to, tell me what doctor is going to heal me. And the answer is there is no magic pill. Everyone is different. Someone could be healed by this doctor and they might not help you. Someone may be healed by this supplement and it might not help you. You've got to figure out what is driving all of this. And a lot of it, as we know, is like, this sympathetic nervous system, this like fight or flight mode that we're all in. So taking yourself off of social media, taking those negative people out of your life, clearing your calendar, like making time for you, and starting to realize like you've got this one life. Like, what are you doing with it, and what do you want to do with it, and how do you want to feel? Because you want to feel like you're 30 when you're 50, So I mean, that's my biggest call to action, is to start just taking charge of your own health and putting you first. And it is not selfish, especially to all the ladies out there. You've got to do it.
Well, that's a wonderful call to action, and I really appreciate you coming and chatting today for the show. And I really wish you all the best with your book and your next book and all your endeavors.
Oh, thank you. This was amazing. You're incredible, and I'm so happy that we connected, and I hope we can keep in touch and do this again soon.
Absolutely. That was the fascinating Amie Valpone, and I'm Dr. Marcia Sirota. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and review it on iTunes. You can also sponsor me on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Marcia Sirota. And please sign up for my free monthly wellness newsletter at marciasirotamd.com.